I don't even like his picture, man.
Hello, welcome to episode 55 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name's John Denton. With me, as always, is Chet Roivas.
Shots fired.
So you know the deal. 2 top 10 lists going from 10 to 1. 10 being the game we played the least this week, 1 being the game we played the most. Enough fucking about. Shots fired. Let's do this. Chet, number 10.
Okay, my number 10 is Movie Quiz on the iPhone, iOS. I spoke about it a little while ago. There's Guess the Movie, which is excellent. Movie Quiz is nowhere near as good, and I had a whole shopping list of problems with it. And I got a ping on my phone, and it was a patch. And I checked to see what they'd fix, and basically they fixed almost everything that I said was wrong with it. So the two main problems with it, it was really pernickety about spelling. Any kind of spelling mistake, and you'd get sort of downgraded from a gold to a silver for that. And you couldn't enlarge the pictures, so some of them were basically invisible because they were so small. So yeah, it's a hell of a lot better. It's still too easy. I mean, all of the posters you'll know. I mean, is there anyone in the developed world that doesn't know what the Alien poster looks like?
Probably.
I reckon there isn't. And also, it's a silent game. The only noise in it is ding when you get one right. But you can't listen to music at the same time as playing it, which was an initial problem. But yeah, it's better anyway. And it's not even called Movie Quiz anymore. It's now called Movie Logo Quiz, despite the fact it's posters, not logos. It's just changed its fucking title.
Oh, that's weird.
Very weird. But yeah, it's better than it was.
All right, my number 10 is a shit iOS game, a very shit iOS game. It's the number one free game at the moment. I put it on just before we recorded. It's called Jailbreak. You're a cartoon prisoner, and all you have to do is you basically try and break out of jail. All you have to do is press the screen, and they'll start scribbling a map, and then you let go when the policeman walks past your cell, and then he'll walk back again, and then you hold the screen again, and then you're trying to fill up a bar. And I thought, okay, that's the first level. Second level, I've got to build a hammer. But all you do is just press the screen and then wait for the guy. And in the end, I just held it down so the policeman could catch me because I didn't deserve to get out of prison. It's fucking scumbag. So you can stay in prison. Piece of shit. I don't understand why it's number one free app.
What are the microtransactions like?
I don't know. There was adverts all over it for like proper things like PayPal and Google. But absolute shithouse.
Was this guy definitely not innocent?
I don't think it's going to be that developed.
Oh, okay. He could have been sort of wrongly accused. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you should have gone through the normal legal process. Then I'm not interested in this business.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't hate on him. I think that's unfair.
Fuck him.
Okay, my number 9 is a game called Wrecked Revenge Revisited on the Xbox 360. I spoke about it when it came out many months ago. It's basically the sequel. I don't even know if it's official. Is it unofficial? I don't know. To that phenomenally good PlayStation 2 racing game Mashed.
Oh yeah.
Which owes most of its, he owes a huge amount to Micro Machines. For some reason, it's a game that I hated, and I left it on my hard drive. I was deleting stuff again, and I left it on there because I thought I'll go back to it and maybe I'll have another go. And I did, and it's still absolutely appalling. I can't remember the last time I played a game that just appeared to have been made. By people who are clock punching. There's no flair. There's no invention. It's like it's made by people who actively did not care about what they were doing. There's no personality. It feels like it was made by a computer. When I spoke about it ages ago, I remember I said it just sits there on your TV dead, and I can't put it any better than that. It is just a fucking corpse of a video game. It is just lifeless crap. I mean, awful, absolutely god awful. It's deleted now, and now I never have to play it again. It's fucking rubbish.
As you were talking about that, a spider just crawled up the wall next to me and is staring at me, which freaked me out a little bit. I don't like spiders, and I don't want to play Wrecked.
Do you want to go and take care of it?
No, he's alright.
All right.
Yeah, when they creep up on you. I don't like it when they creep up on you, but when he's there, he's alright. He can deal with the little bugs.
All right.
He's alright.
Good.
Number 9 for me, Super Hexagon. I'll just go over it super quickly. Played it a shitload. I've now made it a little plan with myself that I have to get to 60 seconds on the first level every day because it chills me out. It's a very strange game. It seems to tap into part of my personality that allows me to... I have a tendency to get a little bit overexcited and stressed in my life, and this helps to channel that. when I don't have the opportunity to go and kick something or chuck someone about, which is good. So yeah, Super Hexagon, it's good for crazy people.
Okay, that's another game that I will go back to at some point.
It's pure hex.
Pure hex. All right, my number 8 is a game called Bloody Good Time on the Xbox 360. I think it's probably available on PSN and possibly PC. Have you heard of it?
I've heard the name, but I don't know why.
I've never heard of this. One of our listeners was talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, "Fuck, that sounds great." It's not. The concept is good, although the concept is kind of sort of. It doesn't. Basically, the concept is that there's a British filmmaker who's murdering actors on film sets. And the game is you in this sort of Tonka. It's like you're in the world is like a very, very young child's cartoon world. So everything's big and chunky and colourful. But basically you have to just kill all the other actors. And the main game is bots, but you can play it online against other people. You find things like explosive rats. You can set traps. If you see someone running through a room, there's fire traps you can set off. You can pick up flamethrowers and stun guns and stuff. Very basically, it's there is an air of the Assassin's Creed multiplayer about it because you have a quarry and someone's after you as well, so you have to get to them before the guy after you gets to you. You can employ decoys and disguises and stuff like that, but there's weird options like you can walk up to a table and sit and eat, and I don't understand what the benefit of that is, or you can lie down and sleep when someone's looking for you. I don't know, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. It's 400 points. The main hook is the multiplayer, but it lets you search the lobbies, and obviously there's nothing there. There's loads of modes, but I mean, it kind of left me a bit cold. It didn't really feel like it knew what it was doing. I mean, the story, this story about this director killing all these actors. When you're there, you're kind of kept in by these bouncers, and there's this tannoy system where they're saying, give the audience what they want, and it feels like you're in a sort of weird Running Man situation. That side of it was very, very all over the place, but the rest of it, it's passable, it's fun. It's just a first-person shooter with some sort of fairly inventive little quirks, really, but 400 points isn't much, but then again, I don't want to play it against bots.
Yeah, that sounds all right. I had to kill that spider, so he's dead now.
Oh, right. What with?
Even more Bloody Good Time. Was it bloody good?
Did you not hear any of that?
Yeah, of course I did. My number 8, Metal Gear Solid 2, I won't harp on about it at all, really. Just still trying to wrestle with the controls on my Vita. It's not the Vita's fault, it's the game's fault. It's such a fucking weird game that it's so weird to go back to it and realise how bizarre it actually was, even during the early sections of the game, which are nowhere near as weird as it gets later on. Whether or not I'll actually persevere through the whole thing, I don't know. But I do admire the old Codge. He's got some crazy ideas, and even though Metal Gear 4 left me with bad taste in my mouth, especially the fucking 2-hour cutscene at the end, when all I wanted to do was make a sandwich, but I didn't want to miss anything. And yeah, I'll let him off. Interested to see what happens with 5 / Ground Zero / Phantom Pain / whatever.
Are you going to complete it again?
I doubt it. I might ditch it when it starts getting too hard and go on to 3, which is going to be more playable.
Okay. All right, my number 7 is Anarchy Reigns on the Xbox 360.
No way! I saw that in my cupboard today, and I thought, will I ever play that again?
I saw it's very much the same thing. But I was looking through my hard drive about like discs that I'd imported, that I'd installed, that I could do with deleting. So I put it back on, and you know what? I think it might be a keeper. There's something like, if you've had a really long and shit day, it's just the mindlessness of it, just the fucking 2-button, just running and fucking hammer the shit out of people. It really is oddly cathartic. I mean, it still does rankle that you can't skip the cutscenes, because there's you play it. There's black side and white side, and you play one first and then one second. I've gone back to do it the other way to see if anything's different, and nothing's different at all. But yeah, it's just so blunt and old-fashioned. I mean, it still looks appalling, but I stuck it on for half an hour, 45 minutes. I was like, I thoroughly enjoyed that. It's just fucking meaty, battering this fucking shit out of things. It's just punch, and absolutely nothing else. But it's fun. I think it's going to stay there for the odd half hour. Felt good afterwards.
Yeah, it's funny because I was stacking up a few games that I'm going to get rid of this week before I move house, and I picked that one up to put it in a pile. I was like, no, I might just keep hold of it. I don't know why, But yeah, I can imagine me sticking it on again one day just for a bit of thuddage.
Yeah, good for a little bit of thuddage.
Yeah, pure thud. My number 7 is Tomb Raider, which I've played a very small amount of. I had grand ideas of going back into it and collecting all the collectibles. And then I just started to get bored, and it was starting to make me not like the game. So I just stopped. But some of the way that they do the collectibles is kind of cool. It makes you re-examine the environments, and some of it's just like run around, find a box. But there's other stuff where you actually have to use the environment and raid tombs in a kind of way to work out how am I going to get up here to get this fucking thing that I've got to burn or whatever. It does collectibles better than most games, but yeah, I realised after maybe half an hour that I was wasting my life, so I stopped.
Were you doing it on a different difficulty, or were you just going back to?
No, just went back through just to hoover up my percentage. It seemed like I was listening to another podcast and they were raving about the game, and it made me excited to go and play the game again. But then, yeah, it wasn't actually worth it. But I can imagine me going back through the game one day, maybe just because it was so fun. But yeah, I don't know. I still have the feeling with Tomb Raider that it's kind of a bit instantly forgettable, as fun as it was. That's definitely something that I still think about that game.
Have you tried multiplayer?
I haven't touched it since I played it for a review very briefly. Yeah,
it's fucking it's pretty damn shite.
That's all they're doing for DLC, isn't it?
Shocking. What? Yeah. That'll change, I'm sure. They're not stupid.
There's been enough of an outroar. Yeah, some sneaky tombs. That seemed like a good idea, but yeah, I can imagine as soon as that news came out, everyone, well, not everyone, but a bunch of people went, "Oh, fuck it then. I'm taking it down CEX tomorrow."
Yeah, good point. Okay, my number 6 is a game called Alien Spidy. It's out this week. It's brand new. It's out on. I played the Xbox Live Arcade version. It's on PSN and also PC. I'm going to try and do the best I can to describe it because it's totally functional. It totally works. Some people might quite like it, but I can't remember the last time I hated a game this much.
Wow.
The story, there is no story. You're an alien spider. You're a spider that lives in space and he crash lands on some other planet. And at the beginning, the production values are really okay. I mean, like, it looks like a little bit of money's been spent on it. There's this big orchestral score that kind of reminded me of like the kind of thing that might be in a Pixar movie. I was like, okay, this looks like quite a big project. After that, it turned into a game that the whole time I was like, why isn't this on a phone? It's an iOS game that's been bumped up to consoles. It has no business being on iOS. Basically, on consoles. Sorry. Basically, it's a platformer, and you're a spider, and you have to get from the start line to the finish line. You don't get punished for dying, so you die all the time. You can use. Basically, you're just jumping around. It's completely straightforward, but you can fire a web up to a tree and then swing. So there's bits of it where you have to swing between sort of branches and stuff. The controls are so precise. You use both thumbsticks, you move to the left, and you fire webs with the right. But the trees that you have to hook onto are tiny, or sometimes you hook onto like butterflies and stuff. It's so small, and you have to be so precise, and the thumbstick has to be in exactly the right direction. I was just die, and I was like, they've made it look like to appeal to children, but. I can't imagine any children enjoying this for longer than 5 minutes because the physics as well. When you fire a web, the exact moment that you fire it determines how long the web is and how sort of violently you swing. And I often couldn't get the balance right. This is something that other games have perfected. I mean, there's games that have implemented systems like this very successfully, and this is so ridiculously difficult. I mean, the physics are a marvel, really, because they're kind of like how you'd imagine them if this was quote unquote real life. But I just couldn't handle dying, and the game itself is sort of just muddled. There's blocks appear, and then you're like, am I supposed to use that? And you can. Some enemies can be crushed by a web, and then the same enemies can't be later on. It's just haphazard. I mean, when it allows you to move fast, like when you're and as hard as it is actually quite exciting when you're doing that. But that happens rarely. That happens like once or twice in the entirety of the game. There's also bits where you can there's power-ups, so you can go really fast, but that only lasts for about 2 seconds. There's a super jump which lasts for about 2 seconds, and then you're back to moving. I mean, the best way I can summarise it is at the beginning of the game, there's this sort of army of marching bugs, and you have to walk in between them. So you can't touch them because you'll get hit. But they're so far apart, there's no danger of that anyway. So you're walking, and I'm like, this is like I'm queuing. I'm queuing in a game. And that ends, and you're like, okay, that was a pretty dumbass idea. And then they do it again. And you think that this is not a system. You're basically asking me to walk in between these things. And then eventually the game continues. And then they do it again. And you're like, what? This doesn't. It's a harebrained project. I mean, you might be willing to tolerate it if it was on your phone, but it's on a console. I think it's 800 points. If it's 1,200 points, then there's really a problem. I'm afraid I don't know for definite, but I'm pretty sure it's 800 points. Yeah, the presentation's terrible. It freezes. There's long loading times. I mean, it's just tripe. But it works. Someone who really loves hard games might think that there's something special about this. It looks like shit. I won't go on. I fucking hated it.
That sounds wank.
That's an understatement. Have you just killed another spider?
No, but you just killed one. Yeah. That sounds that's a shit. I was going to ask how much it was, but 800, 1,200, 400. Who cares? I don't want to play that. I don't want to queue with a bunch of spiders or bugs or whatever. That's horrible.
It's a mess. Fucking mess.
All right. Nothing to do with Spider-Man or Aliens either.
No, nothing. I mean that's. When I got asked if I could review it, I was like, "Oh, okay, that's probably I thought it's not, and they're trading. That's the only reason that has a fucking title like that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Bollocks.
No doubt. Fuckers. Number 6 is Lego City Undercover for me. Just doing a bit more of the story and going and hoovering up some of the collectibles. Still really fun. Still really funny. That is definitely the selling point of that game, is the fact that it's constantly cracking you up. Don't think half a minute goes by without a gag, if not less than that. I don't think I mentioned this last week. It's got fucking hellacious loading times, which every time you start a mission or when you start the game, it loads for about 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and then it's constant sort of 45-second loading times. They do become a bit of a ball ache. The Wii U is not very good with loading times, I don't think, so everything seems to have quite bad loading times. They're not as much of a killer as they could be. Once you're in the mission, that's pretty much it. You don't have to wait. There's no loading until you get back out of the mission, so they don't break the flow too much. But there is if you're going to want to have your phone with you or something when you're playing this game, because when the badge comes up on the screen, you get this loading bar. You want to do something else, but it even makes reference to it in game. It's like, progress bars, they're shit, aren't they? And it's like, well, yeah, they fucking are. Sort it out. So that's not great. But yeah, Lego City Undercover on Wii U is a game that the Wii U needed, definitely, and loads of fun.
I have a feeling it's going to appear on other formats before the end of the year.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, the Wii U specific stuff could be taken out quite easily. Really, it's gimmicky. It's nothing integral at all. Stuff like the Zombie U style scanning it's cool, but you don't need it.
Yeah.
So. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I still want to play it though. I'm looking forward to seshing that up ASAP.
It's fine. It's a fine game.
For reals. All right, my number 5 is Omertà City of Gangsters on the Xbox 360. This probably isn't my number 5. It should have been my number 7 or something, but I've bollocksed up my list this week. I played the demo. Have you heard about this?
No.
It's published by Calypso and developed by Haemimont, and they, from what I can gather, exclusively what they do now is they make those Tropico games.
Right, yeah.
So, I haven't played any of those. They're not my sort of thing, and neither's this. But there were some things that I liked about it. I mean, it's another sim game where you're sort of trying to overtake this. I didn't even gauge. I think it's Prohibition era America. I mean, in fact, I'm almost certain it is. There was one thing that struck me is the way the game begins, and I'm sorry if this has happened in a million other games, and I'm almost certain it has, but I'd never done anything like it. To determine your character and his attributes, you're asked all these sort of strange questions, like how did you were trying to protect your girlfriend back in the day. What did you do? How did you protect her? And that'll sort of that'll set your attributes. Like if you got violent, you have more toughness. If you were a bit snidey about it, you'll get cunning and smarts and stuff, and it just sort of it sets your character's attributes up.
Okay.
What weapon did you use in a duel? Whether you're, I was like, wow, this is really clever. It reminded me of the Nintendo Wii Silent Hill game where you.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up actually. When you have the psych exam at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was very clever. I mean, the thing is, I have a feeling that the Tropico games, and it's probably an ancient trope, but because I don't play games like this, I wasn't familiar with it. The loading times are embarrassing. It's your standard thing. You're looking at a map. You can go relatively on the straight and narrow, or you go in sort of hire thugs and you rob breweries and stuff, and you buy places and sell them. There's some nice touches. Again, this may be a trope of the genre, but I don't know. But you can you have to pick the right friends or the right heavies to do the right job because their attributes come into play as well. It seems like a completely passable game for people who like that sort of thing. I don't know about that sort of thing, and it doesn't feel at home on the Xbox. Games like that never do.
Not really.
Definitely. I mean, it just felt like a PC game as most of them do. But yeah, it's hard for me to know to gauge anything from the demo because this is totally not my thing. But it looked passable at least.
Yeah, people rave about those Tropico games, don't they? I'm like you. I know fuck all about those types of games, and they've never appealed to me at all. I know SimCity is the big talking point at the moment, and whether or not the fucking thing works and all the stuff. I'm bored of hearing about that. But to me, the idea of sitting there building a city for the purpose of building a city with no real end game doesn't really appeal to my personality. It's similar with something like Minecraft. I'm more goal orientated with my gaming, really. Unless it's a sports game, really, but that's different. But yeah, those guys, Heimermont, they obviously know their shit.
Yeah, they did. I mean, this there was a nice sense of place, and it did feel like the language was sort of modified slightly. I mean, it felt like a reasonably high quality product if that's your sort of thing. But if that is your sort of thing, try the demo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right.
Hey.
My number 5 is DMC Devil May Cry Virgil's Downfall, the DLC. Got a couple of good bits of DLC in this week's list, thanks to our fucking awesome listener, Martin, who was very kind to chuck us some Microsoft points, which is a crazy gift, and we're eternally grateful.
Yeah, really.
So I spent mine on Virgil's Downfall and another bit of DLC I'll talk about in a minute. I haven't played that much of this yet, sort of the first level, really. You can tell that it's DLC in the way that everything feels a little bit cheaper. There's no cutscenes. The cutscenes are done through kind of hand-drawn animation and voiceover, as opposed to the kind of lavish cinematics that are in the main game. And the environment is kind of the first mission anyway is like a reused version of the big stately home that you go through early on in DMC, but kind of Virgil's down in I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't played the game, but he's like in a funny place. And everything's a bit all messed up as it is in DMC, but the game is still fucking good, obviously, and he plays differently to Dante. I'd imagine there's going to be loads of cool ways that I can level him up, but fundamentally he teleports instead of rolling. You can sort of teleport vertically as well, and he has those swords that you can summon that he's always had in DMC 3 and whatnot. And you can also use them as like the push and pull from the main game, but it's kind of done with teleportation as well. He's a bit quicker, I think. He doesn't have a double jump, and already there's a completely new enemy where you have to like chuck one of your swords through his heart to make him whole. If not, he's called a wisp, and he's just like a fucking apparition. And then you shoot at him basically. Then you can attack him because he becomes corporeal or whatever. Yeah, I'm happy it exists. It's only 720 Microsoft points. I like campaign DLC. I like story-based DLC and games that I like. And I've done DMC twice, and it's only been out a few months, so there was no way I wasn't going to get this piece of DLC. And so far, it seems cool. It's not at the level of the main game, clearly, but it doesn't seem like it's too far below either.
All right. So can you play through the campaign as Virgil?
I'm pretty sure you can't. But I can't confirm that.
Okay. But how much is it? 800, 1200?
720. I don't know why it's 720 as opposed to 800, but yeah, not too shab, price-wise.
That's really weird because the maybe it's a Capcom thing because the Asura's Wrath DLC wasn't it like 560 or something?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Okay. Maybe it translates to an exact monetary amount on PlayStation or something.
Yeah. Okay. So worth getting, you think?
Yeah, so far. I mean, I'll play it this week and report back when we're on again. But yeah, I'd say so. Especially as I've done the main game twice and loved it. I just kind of wanted to support it anyway.
Yeah, fair point. Dante's in a funny place, did you say?
Virgil.
Sorry, Virgil, Dante. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Virgil's in a funny place.
Yeah, I mean, it follows on from the end of the main game, so I don't want to spoil
Oh, right.
that in case people haven't played it. But yeah,
It's a circus anyway.
everything's a circus.
That's right. It's damn straight. What was that? It was your number 5.
That's my number 5. Yeah.
Okay. My number 4 is Investigate This, Scourge of the Scarecrow.
Scourge.
Scourge of the Scourge?
Scourge. Scourge. Yeah, Scourge.
Is it Scourge? Yeah, I spoke about it last week. I played the demo and was really intrigued by it. I've played through the whole game from beginning to end now, and I have to say it's very difficult to recommend. The first portion that they give you in the demo is... there's hardly any gameplay in it at all, and from the creators' previous games, I assumed that was because the last one I played, Bureau Shattered Slipper, there was a gunfight in that. There was this bit where you had to uncover all this. It was gamey. There was a lot of different genres, but it was a game. This, for 90 to 95% of its time, is you're looking at still screens with subtitles, maybe 85%. And there's hardly any gameplay, and the gameplay that is there is just kind of cursory, and it doesn't have any bearing on anything. For example, the main gameplay that there is that you're these 2 detectives and you're investigating this woman who's being harassed by this spectre of a scarecrow. And inevitably she's selling a house. Who's doing it? Why? Does it have anything to do with the house sale? All that sort of stuff. It's pretty much as you'd expect. But you have this couple. I don't think they're together. It's a male and a female detective. They have this interactive to-do list, so you can just assign detectives to each thing. But it only allows you to assign 1 detective to some and then 2 to the other. But basically, it's not really. You have no control over it. If there's, you have 2 options. One, assign person A, or the other option is assign both of them together. You have to assign both of them together, so only on one occasion can you assign them both separately. But it's literally you're sitting there looking at a screen, and it's the guy's a very good animator, and I think that's the thing. He primarily he's a computer animator, and he's done these. It's one of the best looking games on the Xbox Live because it looks like FMV. There are some FMV sequences, but by and large it's just digitally created human beings in freeze frame with dialogue on the bottom. And the problem with having freeze frames and dialogue as text is that it's incredibly cheap to do that, so it really hangs around. And when you wanted the story to get moving, they throw in Monty Python references, and someone say, "Oh, that's a Monty Python reference," and they go, "Yeah," and then they do a Star Trek reference, and it's like it clearly created by one of the geekiest people alive, and that's fine. But it slowed down a story that could have been. The thing lasts probably about the length of a movie, maybe a little bit longer. And the whole time you're just pressing one button, skipping through. It is likeable because it's so idiosyncratic, and there's something I do still find it quite thrilling that something that completely bizarre, off the wall, and singular can be beamed straight to my console on the other side of the planet. But it's not. It's hard to recommend as a game. I think it's the weird problem is that somebody who likes detective stories and who would never ever dream of having a console in their home could really like this. But it's weird. I like the fact that it exists, but I can't recommend it because it's really, really. There's no care in the storytelling. It is a story. There's not a lot of stuff you can do to interact with it, but it just gets tedious because there's no fucking brevity. So it goes off on digressions that are unnecessary, and the conversation's very lackadaisical. I'd like to be able to recommend it, but I'm afraid I can't.
Okay, I'll never play that game. Is it a visual novel?
Basically, yes, but there are some cursory gameplay elements thrown in.
Right.
It's just that I wanted to like it because it was so. The guy that made it clearly doesn't care what anyone thinks, and there's something really bracing about that. As I've said in the past, especially about Assassin's Creed 3. Not that was one person, but still, when you have a vision and you're just dedicated to sort of fulfilling that's exciting. But this, it's I spent an hour and a half flipping through reading text of not particularly well written dialogue, a mystery that wasn't particularly mysterious, and I wanted to big it up, but unfortunately I can't. I am going to go back to his previous games though, because they seem a bit more gamey anyway.
A bit more gamey, yeah.
Yeah,
I do struggle with the whole visual novel concept. I know some people dig it. Obviously, it's massively dependent on the quality of the writing.
Yeah,
but
true.
even then, if I've got a controller in my hand or a mouse or whatever, fucking move. I want to be gaming. I think that's me. That I'm not trying to set rules for the world.
Yeah.
Cool. My number 4 is pretty much polar opposite to that. It's pure game. Ridiculous Fishing on the iPhone. I talked about it last week. I've been playing it a ton. It's just so fun, really funny. I talked about the mechanics, don't I? It's a 2D game. You're a bloke on a boat, old man. Send the line down, tilt the phone to dodge all the fish on the way down. If one snags you, then you start going up, so you have to tilt the phone to get as many fish going back up. And then when you get to the top, chuck them in the air, start shooting them, get money, go to the store, buy upgrades, buy like a chainsaw, that's an early one, chainsaw for your lines, so you can mow through fish to get further down, buy longer lines, buy like anti-grav machines to throw them all up in the air, keeps getting weirder and weirder, unlock new areas, new fish. All done in a really cool kind of 2D art style, very stylish. Wouldn't know how to describe it, but just really cool. And got that one more go factor. Like, I haven't played anything with that one more go factor to that level since Super Hexagon came out last year, in terms of iOS stuff at least. I'd highly recommend it to everyone. Really fun, really stylish, cool music. Everything about it is well made and polished, and with a real smart sense of humour, and just fucking fun.
Why is it that I can't? Something about shelling out more than even shelling out 69p for an iOS game. I always feel just so unbelievably cautious about it, and that's what, a couple of quid.
It's $1.99, yeah. As with Super Hexagon, I think. But
how good can it be? I mean, I've loved games on iOS, but how good can it be?
I've played it a ton in the last week and a half. A ton. I really have. I've played, I've sat there for an hour at a time, just restarting it, unlocking new stuff. I imagine when I've unlocked everything and got to the bottom of every single ocean that it gives you, then the game will run out of steam. But that would be hours of gameplay for a couple of quid. It's definitely one of the best games on the device. Definitely.
Okay, all right. Better than the horror game that came out 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
That's different, and I still need to go back to that. That's a very different. This is very very gamey game, very just pure mechanics and gameplay in a similar way to Hexagon, similar way to Doodle Jump, that style. Whereas I find they're so different to compare it to something like Year Walk or The Room, which are amazing too. This is so different. It's difficult to compare them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I won't spend 69p on an amazing game, but I'll pay 1,200 Microsoft points for the fucking Expendables 2.
Yeah, or you go for a pint in London and pay $5.50 or whatever.
It's not quite that bad, all right?
It depends where you go.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Real talk. Yeah. I paid $5.50 for a pint.
Fuck off! No, not in London. Where?
In Bournemouth, that Sam Adams at the place I got married is $5.50.
Oh, okay, but they import that specifically, don't they?
Yeah, for me.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice beer.
No doubt.
Okay, my number 3. I wish I could talk about it more, but I can't. Is Luigi's Mansion 2 on the Nintendo 3DS.
Is it under embargoes?
It's not under embargo. It's the embargo drops tomorrow. So by the time, this podcast's going out late, so it will have been long dropped. But I got it this morning, and my intention was to just blitz it, but I got stuck. And that sounds like a bad thing, but it's really not. I got stuck in the way. I think it was me, basically. It wasn't. It's not it. It's me. It's not the game. Basically, from between 2.5 hours, 3 hours that I've played it, I think the phrase, it's not a phrase that people use anymore, but the phrase killer app was running around my head, because it really, if you own a Nintendo 3DS, and I shouldn't really make this judgment call this early, but I had a gigantic smile on my face the whole time, and it was just like, it's just that classic Nintendo, just the amount of care and the amount of the charm. I mean, it's comparable with anything that you could compare it to in terms of movies like Disney or Pixar. So charming, and the game. It looks great. The one problem that I had with it, was a technical issue, and that's that you're using the gyroscope all the time because you're doing a lot of peering through windows and looking through cracks in walls and stuff to see what's going on, and you have to use the gyroscope to move around, and that throws the 3D completely out of whack. It looks so much better in 3D than it does in 2D that playing it in 2D for me was not an option. But in the course of doing that, I realised that you don't have to use the gyroscope. You can just use the thumbstick and the... I always forget what A, B, X, which button's which. But the bottom of the 4 face buttons looks down and the top one looks up. So because you do a lot of looking up and you're sort of... there's a lot of things on the ceiling and stuff. There's a lot of exploration. There are a few things like you can pull up carpets and stuff. And I thought, oh, that looks really nice. But it's just cosmetic. It isn't. Right. There's always situations where things that I'll leave that alone. Don't, because you're supposed to explore and you're supposed to find cool shit hidden in it. And in some cases, stuff that you need to find in order to progress through it. It's just, so far, it's classic Nintendo. It's impossibly charming and rewarding. I mean, the professor from the first one, Professor E. Gadd, I think it was his name, he was like a half baby and half old man with like one tooth. When he was talking, I was like, this is a classic, this is an archetypal Nintendo character, and I couldn't think of any examples apart from Kanbei in Advance Wars. He talking, and people are saying things to him, and he just doesn't listen. So Luigi's shitting himself, and he's like, oh my boy, you've got such guts. And it's just, that dynamic is milked so much in the opening sort of hour and a half. It's just funny. The ghosts are charming. The first ghosts you meet are the green ones, I can't remember what they were called, and they just cause havoc. They're always swinging on chandeliers and just causing trouble. And then you meet these big red ones called slammers that are just like really buff, and they always headbutt each other. And it's just, you're just like, this is what Nintendo fucking do better than anybody else. It's just, I mean, I really shouldn't speak so gushingly about it after only 3 hours of playing it, but the signs are there. And I got stuck on this bit, and it was a classic, not necessarily restricted to Nintendo, but the amount of times this has happened in a game where I've been like, fuck it, I've done something 1,000 times, take a half-hour break, come back to it, oh, there's a door there that I haven't even fucking looked at. You know, it was my own problem. I was gutted because that happened earlier today, and I wanted to really, really blitz it and talk about it a bit more. But I'll do that next time. But god damn it, I have the highest possible hopes for it still, and I have a feeling that it's going to be absolutely unbelievably good.
That's fucking cool to hear. I'm very excited about that game. I love the original. Been dying for something to play on the 3DS, really. Even though I've been doing Mario sporadically here and there and whatnot, but yeah, I kind of almost forgot that I had that console for a long time. I've been excited about this game ever since they announced it, so it's crept up on me though. I didn't realise it was out now.
Yeah, I think it's out the end of the month. It's before the end of March anyway. Okay. But it feels like it's like Mario 3D Land and New Super Mario Brothers Wii. It's a step away. I mean, the whole question about whether Nintendo were pandering to sort of the mass market was always a little bit overdone anyway. But this is not, there's no sort of, when I was stuck, I was like, where's my fucking guide? Where's it coming up saying, we'll help you, we'll do this? It doesn't have any of that. It's not aimed, it's aimed at gamers above everything else, and that's what was so joyous about it. I'll talk more about it next week, but goddamn, it's great.
Sweet. Yeah. That's fucking cool to hear. Wicked. Right, my number 3 is BioShock 2, Minerva's Den. The DLC, I've been meaning to play this since it came out, which was probably 2-3 years ago or whatever. And finally, from this lovely chunk of Microsoft points, I decided to download it. It's 800 points, and I still had BioShock 2 sitting around for this very reason, because I'd heard how good it was. And in fact, there was a retrospective on Eurogamer just a few weeks ago about it, which I didn't read, but it reminded me that I did want to play it. And it's fucking marvellous, to be honest. It's about 3.5 hours long of first-rate content. It's a completely it's like its own self-contained story within Rapture, where you're still the big daddy from BioShock 2, and it's all about this computer that runs Rapture's like a fucking traffic computer would run a city these days. That it's called the Thinker, and it runs all of Rapture's systems, like the lights and the fucking vending machines and all that sort of stuff. And it's becoming self-aware, and it's all about the two scientists who basically created this are now at odds with each other, and they're both trying to get to print out the code of the thinker to take ownership of it. One wants to take it to the surface, and one wants to keep hold of it. And he's the bad guy, and you're being led by the good guy, called Porter, and it's just brilliantly written. The BioShock 2 gameplay it was quite a lot better than the BioShock 1 gameplay in terms of the shooter stuff, and I'll talk about it later, because the reason this podcast is late and on a Monday is because later on I'll talk about Infinite. Awesome. Anyway, it doesn't feel too dated either, which is good. It still looks really nice, mainly because I think those games always will, even as technology gets better, just because the art is so fantastic and well realised and so atmospheric. And it's just this brilliant, superbly written 3.5 hour self-contained story. I played it all today and couldn't put it down, really. And very, 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 I can't believe it's only 800 points, because it's, normally in a DLC, and I was talking, even with Virgil's Downfall, everything feels a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Like they reuse assets and stuff. This is like a proper thing. It must have cost them a lot of money. I don't know if it was even a profitable endeavour. I hope it was, because that bodes well for other things, for future 2K games. But just a superb side story, of the level of any of the story stuff in BioShock 1 or 2. But self-contained. Written by a chap called Steve Gaynor, who's one of the Idle Thumbs alumni, who's now working on a game called Gone Home, which a trailer came out for today. An indie game which looks fucking cool as well. So, that guy knows his shit.
Minerva's Den, for some reason, that's sort of bookmarked in my head as like a revolutionary, one of the worst pieces of DLC ever. What the fuck am I getting it mixed up with? Was there another piece of DLC for BioShock 2?
No, no. But this is generally held up as the best piece of DLC ever.
Fuck.
Well, the best piece of DLC ever are the fucking GTAs, aren't they? But this is like the best like campaign piece of DLC ever. It's definitely the best campaign DLC I've ever played, apart from the GTAs, which was just fucking surely must have cost them a lot of money because they were too big.
I don't know what to say to that. For some reason, Minerva's Den, I remember there being... Were people split down the middle about it?
No.
Or was it just... Really?
There's no way you could be. There's no way you could be. For fucking 800 Microsoft points, you've got a 4-hour BioShock game.
Fuck, I don't know what I'm thinking of, but I'm sure it was related to BioShock 2.
I know people kicked off about the multiplayer. Maybe there was another piece of DLC that, in fact, I'm thinking back, my memory's hazy. Maybe the first piece of DLC for BioShock 2 was a really shitty. I think it might have been a really shitty multiplayer update.
Yeah,
that cost money. Maybe. And I don't think this actually came out for another maybe 4 months or something after the game came out.
Okay,
but all of that might be wrong, and I might have just made all that up. But regardless, if you have BioShock 2 sitting on your shelf and you're either itching for something to do pre-Infinite, or you've done what I've done, is you've played Infinite and you just want more, more BioShockiness, of that quality, just fucking, you need to do it. It's as good as the BioShock 1 and 2.
Fuck.
And 2 is always really underrated. Underrated is the wrong word, because if you actually look on Metacritic, it's really highly rated by almost every reviewer. It's just kind of been... Over time, people just like to disparage that game for some reason. But
it's because it wasn't the original team, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a marvellous game that improved mechanically on the original in a lot of ways, and was of a similar level of writing. It could never possibly hope to capture the invention of the first game, but it is what it is, and they couldn't have done a better job, I don't think. And again, they couldn't have done a better job with this piece of DLC.
Wow, fuck. Okay, I'm going to have to look into that. I mean, at the time, I thought Judgment. What am I talking about? I'm sorry, I'm eyeing up what's next on my list, so there's no prizes for guessing what that is. But I always viewed... At the time, I thought BioShock 2 was superior to the first one, but then again, BioShock 1 is the absolute epitome of a game that I have to go back and start from scratch and do from the beginning, because I think something about it didn't sit right with me, and I didn't really grasp what it was and what it was doing. So
the difficult thing with BioShock 1 now it's 5 or 6 years old, is like mechanically so much of this genre has gone beyond what it does in that, and in terms of ideas and concepts and certainly themes, it's still fucking revolutionary. But the actual physical act of playing the game is quite ham-fisted, whereas 2 introduced the proper dual wielding with the plasmids and the guns, stuff that you probably think's in 1, but it actually isn't. It's a lot clunkier. and so it would be hard, I think, to go back now and play it. But yeah, I'll talk more about that world in a bit.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, as I said, no effing prizes. My number 2 is Gears of War Judgment, or because we're using the American spelling, Gears of War Judgment.
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 It's also my number 2.
Oh, sweet. Okay, right. I can't remember who said it. Someone I follow on Twitter said Gears of War Judgment, God of War Ascension. They're exactly the same thing, and there is a lot to be said in favour of that statement. For the first, you finished the campaign, obviously, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For the first 2 hours, I was solidly just thinking, oh dear, this is not Gears of War. They've completely screwed everything up. And to be honest, I am still a little bit surprised at how praiseworthy some of the critical reaction by and large has been very, very sort of high. And I don't know how. What did you think?
Well, last week I did the little teaser, didn't I? I said it was anti-Tomb Raider, and what I meant by that is that, you know, for all Tomb Raider does right, it does a lot of the whole push up while the game plays around you, you know. Whereas this, you know, the Gears games had actually done that before. Whereas this was just combat. Yeah. The whole game is just the combat, stripped back and refined to better than it's ever been, in my opinion. And it's all action, and it incorporates an AI director in a similar way to Left 4 Dead. So when you replay sections, it's different. The spawns are different. The enemies are different. And I really enjoyed it. It did start to drag a little bit towards the end because there isn't any set pieces. You know, there's some brilliant. You could call them set pieces, like settings for the combat, and some great stuff later on, like the beach landing. I don't know if you've got that far. It's fucking awesome.
I finished it. Yeah.
But there's no like giant boss battles or fucking crazy shit, you know, buildings falling down, classic Gear stuff, big, you know, monsters coming out of the sea or anything like that. It's just the core combat, almost like the multiplayer turned into a campaign. With the scoring system and stuff. I thought that was really cool, but that's what I meant by it's the anti-Tomb Raider. Okay, but I didn't think it was on the level of you know, the first 3 games.
Yeah,
really.
I think it's comfortably the weakest Gears of War game of the lot. I did warm to it the longer it went on. I mean, the lack of set pieces was a problem. I mean, the story is, you know, they're on trial, and the whole thing's delivered via voiceover, and you play through different characters throughout the campaign. But it is literally, you'll hear a voiceover, you'll see footage of them walking up to something, and then you'll see them kick a door in, and then it's basically a round of Horde. There's a possibility that I might go back and play this on co-op with a mate, and I am very, very eager to see. I want to count how many times a door got kicked in, because after a while I was like, and that became exhausting in itself. The fact that there was no set pieces was one thing, because that's what Gears does so well. It was like A to B, Horde, A to B, Horde. You were doing Horde. You were just in a small area, you took out all the enemies, then you moved on, and then there was a cutscene, and then you kicked the door in, and then you did exactly the same thing again. Initially, that was kind of exhausting, but I did start to warm to it, because, I mean, at the start of every skirmish, there's the option to take a declassify mission, which you know, it's just a load of stipulations. Either the enemies are harder, or they're brandishing harder weapons, or you have to beat the level within a time limit. Or the best ones were when they obscured the level with either dust or gas. Or I was like, every time that came up, I'm taking that. That made the game really exciting. You just get heavy weapons and just sort of go out into the darkness. It's a really funny one. I am surprised that people have been as positive as they are. I think it's a solid 7 out of 10 game, but when you compare it to, it's like God of War. I did think that was a noticeable step down from God of War 3, and this is the same. It does feel like a stopgap. It is ODST to sort of Gears of War 3.
It's definitely ODST. That's the feeling that I had going into it. I think I was expecting it to kind of be like it was, so I wasn't going in. I was surprised by the lack of set pieces, but I think I got my head around what the game was going to be pretty early on, and I felt this is a Gears game for people who love the Gears combat. You know, the people who've played hours and hours and hours of multiplayer. This is a campaign for them to just fucking smash stuff up, play it on a hard difficulty, play it on co-op. Yeah. And I like that if you did every declassified mission, which I did every single one, it actually gave the campaign more variety than it's ever had before, because every single battle has its own personality. You know, one, you can only use the Boltok pistol or something, and that will change all the enemies. If you then go back and do it undeclassified, all the enemies will be different, so it actually gears what you fight to what the stipulation is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So each one becomes, set piece is the wrong word, but it becomes its own little game, little sort of combat puzzle almost. And when I started getting my head around that, plus the scoring system where it's like Bulletstorm stripped all the way back to just a few basic things, isn't it?
Yeah.
To get the 3 stars, I actually started to really enjoy it. It only started to drag a little bit for me towards the end because I had to do it in like 1.5 days as well for the review. So I'd imagine most people will stretch out a little bit longer than that. But I dug it. I don't think it's as good as 1 to 3, but I did dig it.
I enjoyed it as well. I suppose I was just sort of very, very mildly shell shocked because it was, you expect certain things from a Gears game, and this didn't deliver them. But I did have fun with it. I mean, the declassified missions, there were some that I avoided when it was like beat this level in 2 minutes. I'm like, well, I don't know where to go. I don't know what I'm going to be presented with. But the first 3 Gears of War games were excellent video games that were made all the better by co-op. If you could play those games on co-op, great. If you couldn't, then they were still excellent experiences. This, I feel like co-op is mandatory. Although I haven't played co-op, thinking back and just how the difficulty sort of was shaped around these declassified missions and stuff like that, I think that this will benefit hugely from co-op. And some of my friends are going to get it, so I may talk about it next week, having played it on co-op. It is stripped back, it is sort of simplified to a certain degree, and I enjoyed it. I just think that if anyone's expecting Gears of War 4, be careful.
Yeah, it definitely ain't that, but I like what People Can Fly have done with the sort of core movement and small little changes they've done to the way the combat works as well. The fact that you can now change your guns with Y instead of having to bring up the D-pad menu, the quick-fire grenades, rolling's quicker, getting in and out of covers quicker. Small things that, like I said, it's for Gears fans. People who don't really care about Gears and are sort of dipped in and out of the series are not going to notice this shit, and it's not going to matter to them. But there's a fucking sizable audience that have played hundreds of hours. That kind of thing does matter a lot.
Yeah.
I know. I was kind of for all of that stuff, and the multiplayer is good as well. The overrun mode is cool.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Have you played much of it?
I've only played a bit because I must admit, when I was playing it, I was like, "This is cool. I like the ideas. I'm having fun." But I'm not in a multiplayer place at all. I'm just not interested in online multiplayer. I played too much for me in the last few years. It all starts to feel the same, regardless of what game it is. But I think, again, Gears is for many people is a multiplayer game, and COD is the game that's always at the top of the charts and whatnot. But Gears is always there. It's always there in like third. So that means a fuckload of people are playing it all the time, and I don't think they'll be disappointed with overrun mode. There's the free for. I tried the free for all, which was just a fucking nightmare. But if you're good, I imagine it's fun. But I'm not good.
If you're good at Gears, you're just very good at hiding behind knee-high cover with a shotgun.
Yeah.
That's how you win at Gears. Overrun mode, for anyone that doesn't know, is basically rush mode from Battlefield. That's basically what it is. Although there's only one objective. You're either I was going to say the fucking Covenant. I always call them the Locust. You're either the Locust attacking a fortification, or you're the Gears trying to defend it. And it's brilliant. But as someone who plays Battlefield way too much, I don't know whether I could. It's Battlefield rush mode in microcosm and so much more intense because you only have 5 people per side and there's 4 different classes, and the only problem with it is that the spawns take longer, so you can't make snap decisions. And it's when you're getting attacked and 3 of your guys get wiped out, sitting there and waiting while they're caning your fortifications is like. You have to know exactly what to do. I like the fact that med packs are throwable, so you can see someone getting hammered and you can throw. I mean, basically, I think it's an ingenious mode. What I'm not sure about is that I can't remember how many different gameplay modes were in like Gears of War 3 and 2, but I think there were less than there are in this, and I think it would have done them well to sort of implement Overrun like as a DLC pack for the other Gears of War games as well, because I think there's less modes in this.
There's only 4 right now. They're patching in Warzone and Execution. But there's still TDM from 3. There is a domination mode, which I don't think I've even tried, I must admit, and Overrun, which I played a fair amount of, and Free For All. And then they've changed Horde to incorporate the new classes, because there's classes in Overrun. So it's for Gears fans, and I think as long as they go in knowing that it should be. ODST did a great job by being a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
And then it set itself up. It established itself as don't expect this and you'll be fine. And I think if this could have done that as well, even though it's way better and has way more content than a lot of games that cost full price, in terms of perception, I think it would have a lot easier ride. But I still really liked it. So I'm sure.
I really liked it too. I mean, it took half of the campaign for me to realise that what it was. I was expecting something, it wasn't that, and then I didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's definitely worth getting. Incidentally, Gears of War, I still maintain it's the worst sounding game of all time. It's just it's unholy, the noise that comes out of Gears of War. Just hearing it, I'm just like, if my neighbours are listening, just the
chainsaws and
the chainsaws, your guys screaming, the enemies wailing, just everyone shouting, the music. I mean, it's the most unholy fucking racket.
Oh, the music was pretty good in this. It sounded like Nine Inch Nails. Trent Reznor had done it. They did a good facsimile of a Reznor soundtrack, I thought.
Wow, I didn't. It made no impression on me. I didn't even notice that.
Really, it was more sort of brooding synthy stuff. Okay. I liked it.
Okay, it didn't make an impression on me. Incidentally, the new female character, they really did break the mold with her. Well, you know, props to them for breaking the mold with that character. A feisty redhead with an impeccably shaped backside.
Yeah,
nice.
But at least they made a cover up.
Made a cover up.
They made a cover. She didn't have her
buns out,
hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well done for not having
credit. These small victories.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that was your number 2 as well. Okay. My number 1 is Battlefield 3.
Oh yeah.
What a surprise. I won't go on about it. It's fucking tremendous. Capture the Flag is great. The new maps are great. The only problem with them is that the dead zones have been put way too far back, and I don't know whether they'll change that or not. But if you're playing Capture the Flag or even Rush on these new maps, I can run right back to where you spawn and drop a spawn beacon. And actually, on the new Batters video that I've just put up, me and my friends join a server and we start, and there's guys on our spawn. So we spend the whole time taking them out, and then we get booted. And it's like, those guys were dicks. But I think they've misjudged that a little bit. So you can just run and nick enemy. If you know where to sit, you can just nick enemy vehicles and stuff, which is... it reminded me of Bad Company 2 Vietnam. You had that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember there was that one map where there was like a hill and the whole team... As soon as you jumped into that game, there'd be a whole team just sat on that map, spawn killing everybody. And there was nothing anyone could do. That was every single game. Yeah, it's great. I frequently take pause on Battlefield, and I did it again this week where I was I still can't quite believe that Battlefield 3 is a thing that we are able to do in our living rooms. It's so incredible. I was in a gunship on an armoured kill map on fire, and the fire was blazing. I could barely see anything, and 2 jets were hammering me, and then my mate Zeno came in, gunned one to death, and then flew straight into one, all in front of me. As the gunship was about to die, dived out, parachuted in, and landed in my mate's tank, who was capturing an objective. And I was like, "This is ridiculous! How good this is! I can't believe. I mean, I can't wait for Battlefield 4, unless they fucking up, which I'm sure they won't. But Battlefield is just fucking great. Incidentally, Damavan Peak, they've added 2 new sections to it, and we didn't even realise. We were playing Rush the other day, and it goes on an extra 2 points on Rush.
Oh, no way.
Oh, yeah,
cool.
It was cool. I mean, I don't know why they left it out initially, but yeah, Battlefield is fucking gleam.
March 27th, I believe, is the reveal for 4.
I hope it's not shit.
I'm sure it won't be. It's going to be gold. You heard it here.
Yeah. Many times.
Many times. My number 1, and the reason this podcast is late, is BioShock Infinite. Wow. This is going to be difficult for me to sum up. Okay.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. This is the thing, and I mean, my review I've written for Games TM magazine. I'm not going to say the score because it's not going to be out yet, but it's rather high, and I made sure to put no spoilers in here. In fact, apart from what I'm going to talk about now, because I think I'm reasonably good at doing this without giving away spoilers. Because I fucking hate spoilers. I don't even watch trailers. Don't watch any trailers. Don't go on Twitter. Don't go and fucking read forums. Don't go and read all the reviews. Just look at the scores. They're going to be high. And play the game. And then read all that stuff and take in as much as you want. Great. But honestly, it's for your benefit. Please do that, because I feel privileged that I was able to play this game before it came out, before I've only watched the very first reveal trailer and the very first gameplay demo. Then I went dark. I was like, obviously I'm going to play this, whether it be for work or not, and I'm glad I did that. The game left me feeling like some of the very best film experiences of my life have left me feeling a certain way and thinking about the world in a different way. And BioShock Infinite did this for the first time in a game. BioShock pushed it a little bit, but unfortunately I saw some of that game being played out in an office where I used to work before I got a chance to play it. But this definitely left me with this feeling, and I've been thinking about it ever since I finished it, which was Monday morning, I think. It's absolutely magnificent in a way that it is almost unquestionably a new benchmark for this medium, certainly in the AAA big game space. What to say, really? I don't want to give too much away. You play as Booker DeWitt, who is a voiced character for the first time in an irrational game. They normally do the silent protagonist, and he's a brilliantly acted character. He is a ex-Pinkerton agent. This is set in 1912, remember, and an ex-army guy who's been down on his luck, is a degenerate gambler. And the game starts with the message that he needs to go and bring this girl back to New York alive to erase his debt. So that's the premise of the game. And this girl happens to be Elizabeth, and she happens to be in Columbia, this city in the sky, which is a city that everyone knows about. It was actually commissioned by the president in the sort of the late 1800s in this fiction. And so very quickly you end up there, and from the second the game begins, I was in awe in a way that I just couldn't believe what I was seeing and experiencing, to be honest. Soon it does settle down and it becomes a shooter, and at first, because there's no shooting for probably 45 minutes, and it felt almost a shame that it turned into a shooter because it was so impressive. But then quickly I realised that it's not ashamed of being a shooter at all. It likes being a shooter. It's happy to be an action game. And in fact, Ken Levine did a brilliant job of explaining it. So I've listened to a bunch of interviews since. He said when he was asked the question, a classic question, it's like the Uncharted question. How do you're trying to tell a story, you're dealing with complicated themes, this and that, and then suddenly you have to just fucking gun down an army's worth of people. And he said, well, it is an inherent tension. I'm paraphrasing for him, but and a problem we haven't really solved, but I like to look at it like a musical. You're telling this story, and then suddenly you have a musical number, and these are our musical numbers, these shootouts. And honestly, it was such an eloquent way of explaining it. I was completely on board with it. The shooting is way better than it is in BioShock or BioShock 2. It's fucking fantastic, in fact. Not only is it really satisfying, meaty gunplay, you've got the plasmid equivalents called Vigors on the left hand, which give you X-Men type powers. The skylines, which you've probably seen in the trailers and stuff, where you can hook onto these things and go around like roller coasters, you've got full control on that. You can change direction, you can change speed, you can jump off, you can shoot, you can leap from them onto another part of the track. It's fucking amazing. And then later on, which you'd also seen in the trailers, Elizabeth can pull stuff out of alternate realities, basically, into the combat. So she can pull in cover or pull in a different weapon, pull in like a sentry turret. So all that stuff's fucking great. But it all ties together into this just fucking amazingly well told, amazingly intelligent story. That was the thing. It's just so well written that it makes other games look silly, and the other games are silly, really. They're not trying to be this, but it deals with racial segregation. It deals with like religious fundamentalism. It deals with American exceptionalism. It's like, but it does so in a way that if I talk any more about what it deals with, I'm going to start giving away what makes it so special. Ultimately, definitely, unquestionably, one of the best games I've ever played. I'm already started it back again, and will just play it back through again, which I always say I never do, but I did with DMC. But it's so. It doesn't even compare. I'm fucking gushing, to be honest, about this game. I'm so excited for everybody else to play it. Hopefully, they'll like it as much as I do. I could bang on about it for ages, but like I say, it's so much better to be discovered for yourself.
Okay, so I mean, like, wait until it's 20 quid, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wait until it's 20 quid. Get your microtransactions in there, and then sell it on.
What format did you play it on?
I played it on Xbox, and it looks absolutely gorgeous on Xbox. I've since seen the same scenes being played on PC, and it does look a fuckload better on PC. But this isn't like, Far Cry 3 does look a lot shitter on console. Like the frame rate and all stuff's still fine. But this you don't have to worry too much if you're a console guy or girl. It's still, I thought it looked beautiful. What they've done with Unreal 3 is amazing. They've done some like texture softening. So if you're a real resolution guy, it might bother you slightly because everything has a kind of softness to it, but it's the occasional frame rate dips, which, to be honest, as far as I know, might even be in the PC version, but they're nothing basically. If you're going to pick them out, then you're looking at one fucking twig when you're standing in the middle of the fucking Amazon. You're an idiot. So yeah, don't worry if you're a console person. It looks amazing.
Shit. Well.
I bet now it comes out and everyone thinks it's shit, and it's just me just sitting in the corner on there.
One of the legendary. I'll stop saying what I was going to say there. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait. Annoyingly, I'm going to get it. I'm supposed to get it tomorrow, so we can talk about it next time. But I have the highest of high hopes, and that's those are encouraging words, boy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so excited to talk to. When you watched an amazing film, you're excited to talk to other people who are filmy people about it. I don't get that in the same way with games. I get that in a different way with games. I definitely love talking about them. Obviously, we wouldn't be doing this otherwise. But this had the game thing and the film thing, which I've never had before, all wrapped up in one in feelings.
Wow. Okay. I have to say the most underrated thing is forming an opinion on something that no one, getting. So if it would, in an ideal world, we'd receive everything at the same time. And it's a shame that we don't. I mean, I spoke about it months ago, but I saw Django Unchained before anyone had seen it. I saw it really early, and being able to formulate and cultivate an opinion on it early was so much more valuable than sort of taking all those other opinions into consideration. It's
no doubt.
So yeah, I'm hoping that people, because I've only seen one trailer and that's it, and it was gameplay heavy and there was a lot of loud music and there was not a lot of so I'm hoping that other people have stayed as far away. Although I hear if you go on Twitter and mention anything related to BioShock Infinite, some bot will tweet you a spoiler about how it finishes.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, classic people of the internet shit.
Well, I must say that I went on the Rollmuck forum today and someone has spoiled the ending on there under spoiler tags, so you're not going to go on there and see it by accident. But he's done 2 spoiler tags. One says, don't read the other one if you don't want it to get spoiled. And then, it didn't matter to me, so I clicked the other one. Boom. Yeah. The fucking ending. So please don't go on there and do that. And people like that just deserve to get their fucking knees smashed in, to be honest.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Okay, fuck. I really hope it's on my fucking doormat tomorrow, because I'm going to go offline and just blast that bastard to smithereens. I can't wait.
I even I did the thing as well on 360 where I turned off my notifications and the Chivo pops. I don't like it on a game like that when you're completely immersed in the world and it's like, well done, you killed 3 guys in the face. So that's my recommendation.
All right. Well, yeah, it's a persuasive one. I can't fucking wait, and we'll talk about it more next week.
I'm going to stick it on right now and play it again. Just a very, very lucky man, very privileged.
Yeah, indeed. You motherfucker. Okay, well, that's us done. Thank you very much for listening. As per effing usual, don't check out the site. There's nothing on it. Check out our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at John Denton, at ChatRovers, or at Chet and Johns if you just want one solitary message per week when the new podcast is out. We should be back on Friday. I don't know though. Stuff's happening. We'll be back for another episode. And also, if you're not familiar with a YouTuber called Hip Hop Gamer and how he relates to my co-host, if you're not aware, listen till the end of the podcast. There's going to be an abridged version of his recent video at the end of it. So listen out for that.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I'm going to sort that out right now. But yeah, thanks very much for listening, and take it easy.
Yeah, shots fired. Fuck you.
Shots fired.
up, Video Gamer? And you guys are like a known site. I respect what y'all do. You're a known site. But something's a bit funny about you guys too. Check this out. So I'm up here, I'm searching, I'm looking at all types of stuff that's going on, right? And I come to videogamer.com, and if you look at the person that reviewed, now this is the part where it was a little tricky. So if you look at the person that reviewed videogamer.com, it's a guy named John Denton. John Denton. He reviewed it, right? 5 out of 10. He says it's nice looking, good co-op ideas. Then he said, now listen, I could almost bet money that he didn't play this game. He said the game is amazingly boring and laborious, or whatever he said. Amazingly boring? Dead Space, any gamer that's a gamer, that anybody that's a human, if you look at this game and you say you're not gonna say it's boring. You're just not. Like I can't. That's like saying Beyonce's ugly or something like that. No, there's no way impossible that this game is boring. If you feel this game is boring, I want you to show me the gameplay footage. You gotta show me. You gotta prove that to me. Ain't not one. You know what's so messed up? In the beginning of this game, it's so exciting and intense. You up here running down the snow and boring? Shut fire, you stupid! It makes me mad. And the reason why is because I'm a gamer at heart, obviously. But I understand development. I understand publishers. And I know what it's like to put myself in other people's shoes and just to be able to have a full circle assessment on what's going on in this industry when it comes to reviews and editorials and things of that nature. And it's like you guys don't care about nothing but what y'all want. And then usually when y'all get what y'all say y'all want, y'all don't even want that and be bashing it. It's almost as if you guys are happy to be in the industry to try to critique or criticize somebody like you better than them. Well, I'm about to shut your whole joint down right now. So, John Denton, right? You push the button for John Denton and activity feed, there's none. No recorded activity feed, right? Then you go to his info and no birthday, only got one forum post. He joined February 9th, 2012, last seen online 13 months ago. Now, I understand if you want to be anonymous and all this other stuff, that's cool. But if you're anonymous, why have a picture of yourself on the thing? Because that I see a picture, unless that's anonymous too. And if you're going to be anonymous, you can't be a journalist. Because when you're a journalist and you're reviewing games, you got to be able to stand by the words that you putting out there on a website. So how in the hell you going to make yourself anonymous but then call yourself a journalist? How can you cover and do interviews and do anything that a journalist do if you're going to be anonymous? It makes no sense. The definition of anonymous is not being there, not being around, you know what I'm saying, disappearing, doing things that, you know, behind the scenes. You can't be behind the scenes trying to put out things for the public. It don't work that way. You know what I'm saying? And videogamer.com is a decent website. So this actually came as a shock. But here's the shocking part. John Denton 22. It says John Denton, right? Then it says AKA John Denton 22. So I did a little searching to try to see if I could see if that was his actual gamer tag. And if it is his gamer tag, then he didn't play this game. Word. I don't even like this damn picture, man.